Pushing through our greatest weaknesses creates profound growth. Welcome into Trivia Tarot. I wanted to talk to you guys about a message that I got today, that the energy of self-improvement is God's energy. Whatever we are struggling with the most, if we put practice into that thing, every step we take is a powerful step. For example, do you guys know the Karate Kid? That whole scene, wax on, wax off. Well, on the one hand, Mr. Miyagi is teaching him to use both sides of his body in balance, to be aware of himself in both directions. But also he was building strength, basic strength, by going through a repetitive motion that required focus, intention, and action. And through this strengthening process, Daniel-san became more and more centered and more confident and more able to take the powerful challenges that were coming his way. Imagine this. You're coming up against a boss and you're playing an RPG and you haven't done any grinding. You haven't really spent any time making relationships with any of the supporting cast. You haven't found any of the good weapons, but you're like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go for the final boss. But you are immediately one-shotted. You're taken down right off the bat because you were unprepared. You simply were not strong enough. And life is a lot like that. You know, if you believe in simulation theory and we're in a game and we think about the challenges of our life being those little opportunities for growth that God puts in our way, then we can grit our teeth, push through it, and then the next time we come up against a challenge, it's going to be easier and easier. So let's go back to that final boss analogy again. Instead, you did all of the side quests. You did hundreds and hundreds of hours of grinding, and you are so OP that nothing can stop you. And instead of being one-shotted by the boss, you one-shot the boss. Like nothing. And you're just like, heck yeah, I am the shit, right? So let's take it into the practical. For me personally, I'll be candid, I have ADHD, and if you've listened to some of my talks, you'll realize that I lose my train of thought and I might not ever come back to something that I was saying. So if you have noticed that, I do apologize, but it's just a thing. And I also struggle with clutter, mental clutter and physical clutter. And it's the worst when I'm trying to move past something that has been emotionally challenging for me. I also noticed that I sit with my anxiety way too long, knowing that I have to take care of something for way too long, and just overthinking, instead of doing something about it, instead of taking action, instead of finding the balance. But the thing is, time is still going even when I'm overthinking. And eventually, something's going to happen that's going to remind me of that thing that I've been putting off working on, putting off taking care of, putting off improving within myself. And that is what we call a tower moment. When the universe has been trying to say, hey, this thing needs to be taken care of. Like, for me, almost every tarot video, regardless of whoever I'm watching, they always mention decluttering. And I'm like, oh, crap. Damn, I really need to do that, right? And I struggle with it, and I struggle with it, and I struggle with it. And I think about it, and I try to plan. And what I'm doing is I'm just living in fear because I don't feel confident. I don't feel ready to take on this challenge because in this situation, I have quite a bit of clutter to deal with, quite a bit of extra stuff, baggage from the past that I need to work through, that I need to let go of. Which brings me to my next point regarding this self-improvement is God's energy. Self-love, maturity, growth, and empowerment is God's energy. Letting go of toxic people and toxic behaviors is letting go of toxicity in ourselves. We've gone through something harrowing. We've gone through something terrible. And for many of us who are empaths, and we live with the understanding that I am you, you are me, we are God, we have so much forgiveness within our hearts. But also, we know that we carry those same toxic traits, whatever they may be, within us because we are all one. But God wants us to remember that because we are all one, when we recognize those toxic traits in someone else who's hurting us, and we remove ourselves, we realize that we are removing ourselves from our own choice to hurt ourselves. Remaining in a toxic pattern is masochistic, and it's very pessimistic. It's forgetting that the promise is that if we do good for ourselves, if we remember God's will and God's promise to us, and we move through life with that in our hearts, and we don't trample our own temple by putting ourselves in detrimental situations, detrimental mindsets, detrimental relationships, that if we continue to trust God, then things work out. God favors us. So for many of us, we maybe went through a really terrible situation and we got out. We made the decision to get out, and life started to turn around and miracles seemed to happen. But sometimes if we've gone through really challenging emotional nightmares for much of our life, when we're in a calmer situation, maybe we have a hard time figuring out what to do with ourselves because we've only known toxicity and drama and pain. But this is where self-improvement comes in, knowing that we can always improve. We can always grow. As long as we're alive, we can grow in some way, whether that means improving our physical health and our strength, learning, reading books, learning new concepts, making better habits, like letting go of things we don't need anymore, if that's something we struggle with. But pushing through our greatest weaknesses, the greatest challenges that we have as an individual, creates the most profound growth. And because we are all one, when we exercise that will to improve ourselves, to overcome our weaknesses, we allow everyone to grow with us. Because that aspect of God that is living as us, that is weak, is now strong. And we can do so much more. And recognize that I said that part of us. Because each of us is strong. To be alive, to be awake, is to be strong. But we can be stronger. We can be better. And every day that we come into the dojo of life with determination and will and confidence, facing our own challenges, our own demons, the detriments that we've had for most of our lives, all of our lives, maybe something that developed over time. It's different for all of us because we're all representing different aspects of the God consciousness. And to those who are afraid to let go of people in your life that are hurting you, that are someone you love, when you let go, when you focus back on your own self-love and your awareness of the God power that is you, that is them, you can show them in that moment that they can do that too. Maybe they've been looking to you as their savior. And you can think of Jesus, who taught and loved and traveled and inspired so many people, but there were those who didn't believe in him, who were fearful of him. And so, like the hanged man in the tarot deck. Jesus martyred himself. He had to leave in order for people to believe that he was the Son of God, the Son of Man, the great representation of God consciousness in man. It wasn't until he left this mortal life, until he disappeared physically from their experience, that they believed. And for those trapped and mired in toxic experience, toxic lifestyles, anger and sorrow and pessimism and negativity, they're still looking for God, and they're trying to find someone who's more powerful than them. That's why so many people who are stuck in this mindset desire control over everything, over others especially. Because if they're more powerful than you, who they admire, though they may not admit it, and they loathe themselves, then how can there possibly be a God? The ultimate consequence for these people is realizing that you have left because you love yourself. You have left because you know there's better for you. You have left because you believe in yourself and you believe in a more positive, beautiful future, not only for you, but for everyone. And that is God consciousness. But the dojo of life can look really ugly and terrifying. You know, we have to go through a bunch of dungeon crawling and see the creepy stuff and the scary stuff. But once we make it back out, we can recognize the monsters for what they really are, terrified of the light, terrified of change, terrified of being exposed, but they really just desire love. And love is teaching. Love is trust. That is the nature of free will. That is why God blessed humanity and Jesus trusted us with free will. So when you exercise your free will, that is God consciousness. And that is the greatest teaching moment for these people, because they feel that they do not have free will. So whether or not you have made it through this patch of challenges, whatever it may be for you, whatever you're struggling with, remember that it is there in your life for you to overcome something that you struggle with. You wouldn't struggle with it otherwise. It would be easy. It wouldn't be something that you'd have to deal with. Even if it was in your immediate vicinity, you wouldn't be dealing with it. You wouldn't be struggling with it. You wouldn't be building your awareness and your skills against it. So you have to embrace the challenge as part of your journey, as part of your weaknesses. Weaknesses are beautiful because they are what makes us stronger if we allow ourselves to face it and be strong enough to face it. Failure is okay. Failure allows us to try again in a different way, or to realize that we have more to work on, more to strengthen. We are perfectly imperfect here. In the spiritual community, we're always talking about finding our highest self, or remembering the selves that we used to be. But I also want to mention that God says that your highest self had to grow as well. The highest self is you having gone through all of your own personal, individual weaknesses, challenges, in order to find your power. And no matter how insignificant it may seem to others, whatever our challenge is, whatever is bothering us, whatever is holding us back, whatever we feel like we suck at, whatever we feel guilty about, ashamed about, those are the tools that we need. Those are the things that we need to build within ourselves. And when we do, we're going to become so effing OP that nothing can stop us. Earth is going through another series of changes right now. Maybe you're hearing a bunch of readers talking about this. And the greatest tool you have to overcome change is strength of will, strength of integrity, strength of self, strength of value, strength of purpose. Like if you don't have a purpose right now, if you don't have a project that you're working on, whether that is just self-improvement or some kind of creative project or a goal, if you don't have something that's giving you purpose, then when the changes of the world come or the challenges of the world come, they're going to tell you who you are. Instead of you standing proudly, parting the seas for your own individual purpose, because you know who you are. No matter what comes, you know who you are. You know what you want to accomplish on this planet, in this reality, in your reality. And if there's something that is mentally, emotionally, physically blocking you from your purpose, from your integrity, from your will, then that is what you need to work on. It's as simple as that. Gamify your life and look at it as going out into the field and attacking a level 1 slime. You might be a level 1 and you don't know what the heck you're doing and you fail. But the more you try, the more you practice, the better you'll be at it. Even if it takes a long time, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's something you work on for the rest of your life, as long as you try to work on it, as long as you put the will into working on it, overcoming it, then you will be so damn strong. You are so damn strong. So I hope this was inspirational for you, and I'm going to go do a bunch of cleaning now. So wish me luck. I love you so much. And until next time, peace be with you.